So today we're talking about ASR with no lids.
Right.
I'm a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
You know, during my PhD dinner, you know, we had all these friends and family gathered together. You know, somebody brought out that, you know, Whitney is receiving this PhD just as much as I would. I mean,
Yeah.
we did a video on this, on how we became a team and one of the major things. But there were so many other things that Whitney helped me out with, psychologically getting through that, also financially. I mean, we invested
A lot.
all of our money.
Right.
So there was this set of tests that we had to do. Alkali silica reactivity,
Right.
ASTMC 12, 16, 15, 67,
Right.
14 and 28 day test. And it's a way for you to look at the potential for your aggregate to have, or, you know, create the environment for ASR.
Sure.
Widely accepted throughout the industry, and it's easy to use. Well, that was a major focus of my
Absolutely.
PhD, where we're using colloidal silica to attack ASR,
Right.
but the university I was working with did not have the capacity or
Right.
the equipment.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a number of labs that do, but it's not done as widely as you would think.
Not
it
as
would.
much as I thought,
Yeah.
you know, and we were on the East Coast at the
Which
time.
really, they don't do that testing that.
Well, I won't
There's
say
a handful of specialty labs, like
but
states away, but there's not like,
we just couldn't find
in
it.
Colorado, like everybody does it. Like that's just one of, like compressive strength, like they do ASR, but
So we had found a laboratory that was out here.
in Colorado.
We're actually pretty good friends with the folks running the lab.
Right.
Said, hey, you know, we're doing the PhD. This is a really important test. Is there any way y'all can give us a deal on this? And we ran.
Oh my gosh, so
I want to do the math.
20.
I think it was a little bit more than that. So you had 4 dosages, 3 nanoparticles, but we had to compare, and a reference. So you get 2 references, 14 right there, and then we had to do it twice because we had to do it straight cement and then with class F fly
Right,
ash.
okay, sure.
So there are 28 at a minimum, and I think we did 30
Yeah,
to
that
set the
sounds
bar.
right. That sounds right.
So we were paying for this all out of pocket. Remember, we were living with mom and dad at the time.
Right.
You know, I was working as a stock boy in Kevin Smith's,
Right?
the director. I was working as a stock boy in Kevin Smith's, I don't know what you want to call it, his warehouse
Kind
of movie
like prop
memorabilia.
storage, yeah.
Prop storage, as well as working at the university,
Right.
as well as working, trying to build intelligent
Right.
concrete, and then shoveling. And
Yeah.
Whitney was working as a nanny,
Yeah.
cleaning lady.
And I was going to school full time also.
So, I mean, all of our assets were
Right.
either being paid for living expenses, which mom and dad were great,
Yeah, they were.
but it was also paying for my PhD and
Right.
the research, the equipment that we didn't have.
Right.
We had gotten finished. We weren't finished with the test, but we were on the tail end of the
Right.
test and already going through data and truncating it and making decisions about, you know, the technology. And I went on a trip out to visit
Right, Colorado.
Colorado, and while I was there,
Popped over to the lab.
popped over to the lab to see how the tests were doing.
Right. So you have these 1 inch by 1 inch by 12 inch mortar bars.
Right.
And you have to do mortar bars, they have to be ripped and stripped at 24 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
They do a 24-hour soak in just tap water in an oven at 175 degrees, and they have to be in a container that can handle the 175 degrees. And then after the 24 hours, you're putting sodium hydroxide. So it's a really caustic, just nasty
Aggressive
chemical. I've gotten like chemical burns on me before
Most
from
people
dealing
have.
with it. So yeah, a really nasty material, but you have to have it at a very specific concentration. So you need containers that aren't going to crack, that aren't going to let air in so that it can evaporate. Like you need like a tight seal.
So that normality of the solution, do you remember
It's
it?
1.0.
The reason why Whitney knew that off of the top of her head without even thinking that was freaking awesome sauce was because there's a very specific process that you have to do not only to make the solution,
Right.
but then identify that the concentration is correct and
Right.
or adjust.
Right.
I went to this lab in Colorado and I was like, hey, is there any way I can see? because these things are just absolutely adorable. I love these things. This is really the best test out there. Is there any way I could see the bars?
No. ASR setup, yeah.
Technician takes me to the back of the lab, absolutely no problem. Open up the oven, and here are these dishes, not even dishes, these Tupperwares with no covers on them.
Just straight up open in an oven. And then the problem is too, you figure you've got the heat, so the concentration is completely changing.
And you could see the line.
Right, oh, I'm sure.
Where it had evaporated, and I asked this guy, I was like, dude, how do you guys account for the moisture loss? And he said, oh, that's easy. Every morning I just fill it back up.
Can't do that.
It was one of those moments.
Because you would need to rerun the titrations to make sure that your concentration was adjusted to get back to the 1.0.
Where I recognized that a PhD was not about brilliance, but it was about persistence.
Sure.
Because we were at the end of testing WIT.
Yeah.
We were done. We had
spent a small fortune on it.
We had no more money to invest in ASR testing because we had finished it all. And we still had compressive, NMR,
Right.
SEM, TGA, XRD, all this other stuff. This was just once, and this took up a large portion of the budget. And memory serves me correctly, it was around $800 per sample.
Probably.
30 samples. I mean, math tells me it's a lot of freaking money
Right.
that we basically threw away. So we found this out and we made the decision,
Right.
if we're gonna throw that much money away,
May as well just do it ourselves.
we may as
Buy
well.
the equipment. Why not?
We
In that
may-
case, we would have actually saved money.
The way that the dad explained it to
Right.
me, was that if you look at it as a loss, it's gonna plague you for a long time. It's gonna sit on your chest, sit on your back. But if you look at it as a very expensive lesson,
Sure.
it's something that you're never gonna let go of in a very positive light.
Right.
And that's what we
A
did.
lesson learned. Sure.
We looked at it as a very expensive lesson as to who we can put our faith in for doing
Right.
tests that
Oh, yeah.
we rely on the data.
Right.
So, I hope he doesn't mind us mentioning his name,
No.
but we got in touch with
Oh.
one of the most brilliant minds in the concrete industry when it comes to ASR.
Yep. Jason Eidecker
Jason
at Oregon State.
at Oregon State University.
And he, bless his heart,
Top 10 rock stars. He's like number
He's
one,
amazing.
maybe number two
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah.
Maria Younger is pretty
She's
freaking
up there,
cool.
too.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
he,
Yeah.
worked for his
No,
girl.
agreed.
So,
And
yeah.
Brian. You know,
Yeah.
I know. There's
And Brian, totally, and Chuck.
Right.
I mean, there's Jason, but Jason is number one, number two, number three. He's floating around there, and we called him. I think I might have called him up, going, Jason.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God.
he and one of his grad students literally held our hand through the entire thing. Like,
Entire.
I can't tell you how many phone calls I had about which type of containers to get, because you have to get very specific
Very.
containers that can withstand the heat and that caustic formula, and ones that will seal appropriately
The
and that will
gradations
last.
that you have to use for the
And then
aggregate.
the first time I freaking ran titrations,
Woo!
I did it 10 times and my concentration was all over the place. And then I called and ended up watching, I think, a YouTube video as well, because they were like, well, it needs to be light pink, but it has to stay, but you don't want it too dark. And I was like, oh my gosh, what color of pink? There's so many pinks. But anyways, I figured it out, and now I can thankfully just do one round of titrations, and I'm confident in it because we've been doing this test for years and years now.
There's a decade.
But
Close to.
it was a lot to tackle in the beginning, and I swear I got hard
Now-
palpitations trying to do that
and
initially.
it wasn't just that. It was running the test and
Right.
taking the measurements. The ASTM does a very good job of spelling it out, but it's still a difficult test. So we spent, oh my gosh, I mean, we did iteration after iteration after iteration. We sent Jason material that we had, and we replicated and replicated and replicated until we got that standard deviation, as well as that confidence over and over and over again. But it was just another one of those activities where, I mean, if I want to say it as a PhD, it's one thing, but as a team, I mean, there was an obstacle.
Sure.
We had every right and reason to give up,
Right.
but instead of,
We never give up. We don't, you know, it's the easy thing to do a lot of times, but it just, I've decided it's not in you. To even half-ass something is not in you. Like, I am plenty happy occasionally, not often, but, you know, it's like, okay, that was a good half-assed effort. This guy, no. It has got to be 100% every single time, which is definitely something I admire about him.
You know, and that has become part of our company.
Oh, absolutely.
Like today, our intern was putting together some molds for us, and I went and looked at, did you look at them?
I saw you.
Oh, they were terrible. And I mean, we're looking at, you know, thin sections of concrete and cracking. He's a great person. He's really awesome.
But it's that attention to detail of years in the industry and recognizing what you need to do.
And once you're willing to sacrifice the standard deviation and the attention to detail, you've gone down a different set of crossroads.
Oh, great.
And what we have done throughout our career is the, you know, whether it's divine intervention or, you know, we have been presented with those crossroads and have had to make that decision of, you know, are we going to bail out or are we going to dig our heels in and become better because of this situation?
Right.
And I consider all of those, I mean, that was a failure out of our control. It's still a failure.
Sure.
I would really call all of those failures opportunities.
Sure.
Because we would not have gotten here if they had done everything right.
Right.
And you know, I do love the test. So
I do too. I really like it now. Now that
part of me is kind of happy
that it all happened.
Kind of.
Yeah. And I definitely enjoy running it. It's a great test that gives awesome information and it's not intimidating.
We have to do that test together.
Right.
So it's like a couples thing.
Yeah, kind of. Although you do the mixing and then I take over from there.
We still do measurements.
When was the last time you did an ASR?
2 weeks ago.
Lies. I love you.
Anyway, so thanks for joining us tonight in Story Time. Hope you learned something. Hope you had some fun. If you have any questions, concrete concerns, don't forget to ask. Shoot us those direct messages. Put them in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go Concrete!
Beat asphalt.
Have an awesome evening.